Good morning, everyone. You are listening to the new WCEG network on WCEGtalkradio.com. So don't forget to click the Stream Live tab or watch us live on your smart TV, YouTube, WCEG network, Facebook, Instagram. We're all over the place. I'm attorney Melaney LaGrone, and I'm going to be your host this morning for 1 hour. And this is all things immigration beyond the border. And we also have a special guest today, immigration attorney Carol Williams. And so she's going to tell you all about herself in a little bit. But we are the Worldwide Community Empowerment Group. We speak life into the community here on WCEG Radio. And we like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter and on Instagram at WCEG_talk_radio and at WCEG Network. Last but not least, disclaimer, the topics and opinions are those of the show hosts and guests and not WCEG Network. Thank you for your continued support. So good morning. I am so excited to be back. We took a little bit of a hiatus, but we are now back with our Beyond the Border show. We are on the third Saturday of each month from 11 to 12. And each month we will have a different host to come in and talk about different things as it relates to immigration. So today I am so excited to have Carol Williams with us. She is an awesome employment-based immigration attorney. She is located in Florida, but because of course it's immigration, guys, she can help you in all 50 states. So today we are going to focus most of our conversation today on employment-based. As you all know, I am an immigration and criminal defense attorney. I am in Atlanta, Georgia, and I also can do immigration in 50 states as well. But my focus is more on family-based immigration and deportation defense. So it's great to have someone here with us with a different niche to teach you all the ins and outs of business immigration law. Because as you all know, there's so many myths, there's so many misconceptions. People are always listening to other people who might not know exactly what they're talking about. Or my favorite is Google, because people love to Google. So you're going to hear it though from an expert. And so I'm going to turn it over to Carol. Carol, please introduce yourself to everyone. Just tell us all your great stuff about you, and let's get rolling.
Well, hey, Melanie. First, thank you for having me. I'm super excited, and it's been a while since I've actually seen you. So I'm excited to actually get to see you and have a conversation with you. So thanks for having me. I am Carol Williams. I own a boutique immigration law firm. We do quite a bit of the employment-based immigration. And that is really helping business owners and entrepreneurs and in-house counsel and heads of HR and heads of global mobility make sure that their non-US citizen workforce, so all of their immigrants, are here and have the right work authorized visa. We look at all of the different work authorized visa possibilities. There are many different categories, and we figure out the right visa for the employer and the employee. And that's really what I do. And, I've been doing it for, over 20 years now. And I spent some time within USCIS, our immigration agency, up in Washington, D.C. So I know how the agency thinks. And some of the things that I worked on in the agency are still in place. So that's kind of fun to see. But yeah, that's what I do. But I am headquartered here in sunny South Florida. But I do, like you said, I do help clients all over the U.S. as well as internationally.
I forgot, Carol, that is so cool. I forgot that you worked for USCIS.
You did. So... I was in the belly of the beast. I
love it. Because as you know, when you have those little, ins and outs of the inner workings of the organizations, it's huge to be able to use that, towards your advantage for your clients and things like that.
Yeah. I always tell my clients, I was like, everybody knows what the agency wants to see because that's what they tell us. I mean, quite frankly, like if you go to a conference and there are agency representatives there, or you go onto the website, it tells you information that they want to see in the applications. What they don't tell you is what they don't want to see. And having worked inside the agency, those are some of the things that I know. I know what the agency doesn't want to see. And part of the reason of that is because I was the person that sat in the room and said, in some cases, well, that doesn't make sense. Like, I don't like that. It doesn't make sense. And I have an issue with that. So let's keep turning the pages of this application and see what's going on. So I think that's really one of the huge value adds I bring to my clients is that I know what the agency doesn't like.
Oh yeah, that is huge. I love that. I love that. Now, Carol, do you represent businesses or individuals or both in the employment realm?
So my practice is a little bit different than most, I think. I represent both employers and employees. But on the business side, the majority of my clients are going to be the employers, but there are some visa categories where individuals can apply to come to the US and have work authorization and do amazing things in their industry and not need to be sponsored by an employer. And so I work on those applications as well.
Oh, awesome. 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 Okay. And I did not know that because, of course, I don't know much about business immigration. Because you know how people, when you're a lawyer, so we're immigration lawyers. So people think, oh, that means you do everything immigration.
Right.
Well, one thing about immigration law is that business and like family and deportation defense and humanitarian things like that, those are almost like totally two different ends of the spectrum of immigration law. So it's like you have to learn all this stuff for business and learn also most immigration attorneys do kind of pick one side or the other. They, family deportation maybe, and then those that pick business immigration law.
Sure.
So, and obviously for, those of you that are watching, that also is really good for you to know because, you want an attorney that knows her niche. You know what I'm saying? Like you want an attorney that's specialized in that area so that you know that they're not doing 50 million different things and also doing what you need them to do. So always keep that in mind when you look for an attorney. So Carol, you said that there are employees that can actually petition for themselves in employment law to come to the United States. Yeah. Can you explain, what does that look like? What type of visa is that? How does that work? How do you even know if you qualify or, if there's an employer maybe here in the United States is looking for your services, I guess? Tell us a little bit about that.
Sure. So there's one visa category that I do a fair amount of work with, and it's called the National Interest Waiver. And it's actually a green card category. And it's designed for individuals that want to come to the United States. They want to work. They may or may not have an employer who is willing to sponsor them, or they may or may not have a job offer already. But ultimately what they want is they want a green card. So the National Interest Waiver is designed specifically to bring individuals to the United States and to attract individuals to the United States who are not only at the top of their industry. And when I say top of their industry, I don't mean top of the industry in their own head, right? Because I know I'm a singer, right? Like I get in that shower in the morning, I get in my car, I know I'm a singer, right? So I don't mean that, right? I mean your colleagues, your regional colleagues, your international colleagues know and come to you because you are the best at what you do in that specific, very niched down area. So the National Interest Waiver is for those people that are at the top of their industry who want to come into the US, either work for a specific employer or open up their own business or, their own, their own shop. And so it's a great category and a great mechanism for people who are extremely entrepreneurial and at the top of their industry to come in and say, I have something that I think I can offer. And it is a hard hurdle, right? The national interest waiver, you need to show that what you are doing, the service that you provide or the product that you have can potentially impact the nation or a very defined region of the United States. So the example that I give to people often, or the few examples that I give, are if you are a heart surgeon, right? And you have developed this new technique to determine or ferret out or figure out that someone is going to suffer from heart disease before they start suffering. You figured out a way or a testing mechanism to figure that out. That has the potential to change lives across the nation. If you are a serious researcher and you are developing drugs for cancer or Parkinson's or some of these chronic diseases that we have, that can benefit the entire country, because that can be rolled out to hospitals, that can be rolled out to clinics, what have you. If you are developing technology that can detect bomb-making materials on plastic, on paper, on fabric, things like that, that can be rolled out potentially at every single airport, every single location in the US where there is a metal detector, right? Where we would want to know about these things. And so those are the kind of examples that I give to people. That does not mean that you can only be a scientist, right? You can be an amazing economist, but you've got to be able to show that what you do and the potential for what you do can literally impact such a large number of people in the States that we would be crazy as a country, as a government, not to want you here in the US to share your talent. And so the people that I work with are some of the most humble individuals you'll ever find. And when I say to them, I was like, I think you could qualify for a national interest waiver. Like, what you do is amazing. It's incredible. It's over the top. And their response across the board is always, I don't think so. I don't, Carol, I don't think so. Like, I just go to work. I just do what I do. I love what I do. That is a sign of someone that sits at the top of their industry. Because they're always just really humble about it. I had this great client once, and I said, I think we can get you a national interest waiver. You meet all the criteria. And he said to me, he started laughing and he said, can you call my wife and tell her that I am national interest waiver material? And I said, oh no, I'm going to let you deliver that news. I said, because the second you don't wash the dishes tonight, he's like, I know. But that's what I mean. Like, they're so incredibly humble, but they're so amazing at what they do. And that's one of the reasons why I really like working with my national interest waiver clients. But that is a visa category that shows the impact that immigrants in general have on the United States and on things that impact our daily lives that we don't even really recognize, in part because they're so humble.
Girl, that is huge. Like, yeah. I just learned a whole bunch of stuff.
Yeah. And so and it's that category allows for them to receive a green card. And as you and I know, a green card is, for a lot of people, that is their ticket to freedom. That's their ticket to this country. They're allowed to live and work here with a green card. They can travel in and out of the country. And so it really gives them freedom and also flexibility when it comes to their living environment, as well as their employment options and their employment environment. And so, my national interest waiver clients that do not have a company who's given them a job offer, can self-sponsor, is what we call it. They can absolutely file this application without filling out the block that says, who's your employer? But one of the great things about the national interest waiver is that you can also have a company that wants to sponsor you, you know,
Oh, nice.
so that is, there is that flexibility, which is really nice for my clients.
That is, I mean, that is so awesome. That sounds like an awesome path.
It's fun.
And everyone knows, I mean, you come here, you have your green card, all the things that you can do, you know, that Carol just laid out, you know, travel freely, don't have to worry about being stopped usually at the airport, you know, in and out the country, you know, be able to sponsor your family and bring them here, and then eventually become a citizen. You know, that path that everyone is looking for. And I think this is awesome. And one thing that I like about this is, you know, there's that misconception of, you know, immigrants are coming here and they're taking our jobs. And, you know, you guys, people have to think about like this, like something like this. You know, if you are a heart surgeon and you just, you know, research and found a way to figure out how people, you know, won't have a heart attack. In other words, catch them before they have a heart attack. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And you come here, you're not looking to take anybody's job. You
Right.
are.
You know, I hear that a lot, that, you know, being that I am firmly in the employment-based side of immigration. And, you know, and I've been doing employment for over 20 years, you know, employment immigration for over 20 years. It is my baby. It is my passion. And so here's what I tell people about this whole, I'm going to call it a misconception, that immigrants are coming here specifically to take jobs from US citizens. Flat out, they're not, number one. But my average client that I work with, whether they are coming under the national interest waiver, which is an incredible, you must be incredibly skilled in your profession, in your niche, to get a national interest waiver approved. That fair enough, right? But my average client, if they're coming in not on a national interest waiver, they're coming in on a temporary work authorized visa. My average client has a bachelor's degree from a university overseas, a well-known university in their country overseas. Typically, they have worked for 2 to 3 years after their bachelor's degree in their own country. Many of them have then gone on to get a master's in that very same niche in their home country. And then they are either recruited or they apply for positions here, and they are hired. Or some of them, many of them, come to the United States as students. And then they get either another bachelor's degree for 4 years, or they get a master's degree for 2 years. So doing that, coming to a US university, opens them up to on-campus recruiting, just like it would any other US citizen student. So if you are the employer and you are looking at a candidate through on-campus recruiting channels, you go to your local university where you guys go every single year, and you have 2 resumes in front of you. One is the resume of someone who has a high school diploma from somewhere in the United States. They are about to graduate from a US university with a bachelor's degree. And then you have the resume of someone who has a bachelor's degree, 2 to 3 years of experience in the field, and a master's degree that is related to the field, and now is about to get another bachelor's degree or another master's degree in the field. From a hiring perspective, the person with more experience is easier to hire. From a financial perspective, that person is cheaper to hire, because once you get that person on board, they can hit the ground running much quicker than a candidate that only has is about to receive a bachelor's degree. They haven't even fully graduated yet. So while I think there are certainly positions out there for truly entry-level individuals, right? Because at some point we were all entry level, because I surely remember my first few years of practicing law, I was way entry level, right? So I'm not saying there's nothing wrong with being entry level. We've all been there, right? We all have to start somewhere. It's just that when you are typically one of my clients, one of my employees, when one of my employers, when they're looking to hire somebody, nobody says when they're sitting in their conference room at work, I want to hire the person that's got the least amount of education, that has no prior internships, that has no prior experience, over someone that's got 3 degrees, or two degrees and almost a third, and 2 to 3 years of work experience. No hiring manager is ever going to say that. So this myth that individuals are coming here specifically to take jobs away from US citizens is a myth. People are coming here for a variety of reasons. They are coming here to flee horrifying situations in their own country. They are coming here to expand their business footprint from an already incredibly successful business footprint outside of the US. They are coming here to go to school. They are coming here because they want to give their children an opportunity when they grow up to have US universities available to them. I've not met a single client that says, I want to come to the US to take a job from someone. That's not their motivation. And that's not the motivation of my businesses that then hire individuals. They want the best person. And so we live in a global world. Right now there are several countries that have come up, and it's come out of the pandemic. So I'm going to be curious to see what this looks like in the next couple of years. There are many countries, not the US, but many other countries that have looked at and instituted basically like a traveling visa, where someone can come in from another country, stay here, hang out, and work. And they've started to make it a whole lot easier for people to move across borders, because the pandemic really honed us all in on the fact that we can do a lot virtually, and we can do it well, and we don't have to be tied to an office, so that should resonate with everybody now during the pandemic. But there's still this thought that immigrants are specifically coming to the US to steal jobs. And I have to say, the individuals that I work with, oftentimes they're not stealing jobs. Oftentimes they are creating jobs. Oftentimes they are coming here, they are part of high functioning teams. And because their teams are so high functioning, they are helping the success of a current business. And then that business is then able to hire more individuals. I work with entrepreneurs that have very successful businesses outside of the US. When they come to the US to expand their business, they are hiring US individuals. They are creating jobs. So this whole notion of people are coming here specifically to take our jobs, it's not true. Like I've seen this for 20 some years of practice. So I will get off my soapbox now.
I know it gets up on your skin. It's like, that is not the case. But
it's really not. And I love shows like yours, because it gives us an opportunity to really dig into it and go a little bit deeper than the 30-second sound clip that we get on our 6 o'clock, 6:30 and 11 o'clock news.
Right, exactly. That's often, misconceptions anyways, but
another conversation, another day.
Right, another day. So let's talk about with like national interest waivers and even any other employment-based visas that you handle. What's going on with this huge backlog? Everyone knows, you guys, yes, we are still in the midst of COVID. Hello, people, like it's not going away, okay? And we are rolling with the punches because, the government was closed for so long, and then, but nobody has stopped filing petitions, obviously, during that closure. And so now we're playing catch up. So what is going on? Because, and I know, we get clients all day, every day, like, why is it taking so long? Yes. Can you hurry up? And it's like,
Yeah.
So tell us
So,
about this backlog and any sort of maybe premium processing, expansion, anything that's expedited,
yeah.
anything that can be done.
So having worked inside USCIS, I feel, I feel for them. Truly, I do. Because backlogs are no joke and they are hard to dig out from under. And it doesn't matter why we are in a backlog. The fact is we are in a severely backlogged situation, and it's hard for them to dig us out of this. So they've had several initiatives that I think have been really good to get us out of these backlogs. Usually, employment authorization documents. I say usually, which, pre-COVID, employment authorization documents were issued for 1 year only. Now they're starting to issue them for 2 years, right? That helps us, frankly, on the outside. It helps our clients, but it also helps them know that, in 9 months' time, they're not going to have yet another onslaught of renewal applications coming in the door, right? Like, it gives them a little bit of a breathing room as, as they look forward to, to their processing times and workload. But specifically, they have decided, and we've got, a new policy, new law on this that says they're going to expand the premium processing program. And so the premium processing program has been in place for quite some time. It is for employment-based, some, not all, some employment-based categories. And it essentially says, if you pay us an extra fee, we will process your application. So right now, the majority of those applications that are eligible for premium processing are adjudicated in 15 calendar days. So you will either get an approval, yay, we're all very excited when that happens, or you'll get a request for additional evidence. You could also get, a notice that says that we're going to deny this, but those, I think, frankly, are very rare in the premium processing world. But even if we get a request for further evidence, we have it in 15 calendar days versus what could be, 6 months or 9 months wait time. So we're able to get these applications filed and processed and completed in a much quicker time frame. That helps the agency with their backlog. So now they're expanding the types of cases that they will process using premium processing. And one of those, luckily, I'm excited, my clients are excited about it, is the national interest waiver. And so there's no way that they can do those in 15 calendar days. Like, truly, I just filed an application that was 23 pounds of paper and roughly 1,700 pages, right? So these are not small applications that are like 5 pages, 20 pages. Like, these applications are meaty and they take time to go through each individual application because, again, people, what they're doing is so specialized and it's so unique. So the agency has said, okay, we're going to process some of these national interest waiver applications. We're going to start slow. We're not just going to let y'all inundate us, and we're going to give ourselves 45 days. So we're on now phase 3 of them opening up the national interest waiver category for some previously filed and currently pending applications, so that we can get decisions quicker, but so that the agency can get those processed. What I have seen anecdotally is the opening up and the expansion of premium processing, where people have affirmatively said, okay, my case is pending. I meet the date cutoff. I want y'all to now process this within 45 days. What that means is your case is now taken out of line because immigration processes things on a first in, first out basis. So if you're now taking certain applications out of line, you're putting them with a completely separate group of adjudicators who are going to process those applications in 45 days, leaving, spots in the line, right? So now we've essentially tightened up that line. There are fewer people in that longer line. And so those applications are now being processed a teeny bit quicker. So opening up premium processing slowly is actually another way to help them reduce the backlog. Because whenever we have a premium processing case and cases that are eligible for premium processing, their they are processed by a completely separate team of people. These people are super trained on the application types that they deal with, and they know what to look for. And so that's how they're really able to get through them in either the 15 calendar days for most of the, most of the employment-based applications that are eligible for premium processing, or the 45 days for the national interest waiver. So, I have a client that opted not to upgrade to premium processing, which was completely fine. But we've had discussions over the past couple of months about that, and we recently just got an approval. I think it is because so many people opted for premium processing, it just kind of moved them up in the line, and that's just my kind of thought process about it all and what I think happened. I mean, truly, I don't care what happened. Like, I'm just happy that my client has an approval. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
I'm just happy I'm happy we can get to the next step. But I think we'll start to see more of this. And I think we'll start to see a further reduction in the backlog as the agency opens up and expands more of the premium processing. But I will say this, I do think they are doing it smartly, because they are doing it in phases, because they know us. Like, let's be clear, like, they know that my clients have no problems writing that check,
Right,
to say because they're sitting internally, they're like, listen, the cost benefit analysis is, if I write a check, y'all are going to give me a decision in 15 calendar days. So if we file on a Thursday, and I know that y'all don't work Saturday and Sunday, but Saturday and Sunday are still counted towards my 15 days. So that means I can get my person a whole lot quicker. They will write that check. And the agency knows that. And the thing with premium processing is, if the agency doesn't provide some correspondence within the allotted time frame, they have to return that money. Trust and believe, the agency is not about returning money.
No.
They are not about returning money. They are a fee-based agency. They operate based on the filing fees. Yeah. That's how they fund the entire agency. They take very, very little money from Congress, the way the rest of the federal agencies do. So they are not about returning that money. So they are, expanding premium processing, I think, very smartly, and doing it slowly, but doing it so that it can be successful. And I've seen it. I've spoken to colleagues across the country, and they've said they've really started to see approvals coming in, and I'm like, this is great. So yeah, so I'm cautiously optimistic and a little excited, if you can't tell, about premium.
I know, right? And I loved how you explained it, because that makes sense. Okay, so they're pulling these out for premium processing. Specific adjudicators are dealing with those files, but then it's opening up space over here for the regular files to go ahead and be fed in, and, decisions made. So I think that's awesome, because, this backlog, as we call it, will eventually, subside. And I think that's a great way to do it. And I am all for, paying. I love that idea. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you want your case, obviously it's specific types of cases, but if you want and need your case to go to the front of the line, you have to write a check for it, because USCIS saying they're not doing nothing for free,
No,
so
not.
We know that, because fees go up all the time. So, but I love that. And I love that explanation. I'm going to switch gears. Because you had spoken about, students coming here, and, immigrants coming to go to school and things like that. And I have run into some situations recently, because I started getting interested in the kind of like into the sports and entertainment, immigration and things like that. I mean, heck, I'm in Atlanta. Home of entertainment and sports. So, but there's this huge thing with our athletes that, you come here on a student visa and you're not allowed to work. And that's huge, especially now that the NCAA has, implemented, the NIL, name, image, likeness, where, you can start getting paid for, using your name, image, and likeness. But our foreign athletes are kind of stuck out there. And it's like compared to the US athletes, and it's like, what do we do?
Yeah, they are absolutely stuck. And it takes the immigration service a while to pivot.
A while.
A while. It takes time for them to pivot and to change. And I think international athletes right now they are still under a visa category, right? They are still here and they must follow the immigration rules that have been set out for them.
Right. Or they lose it. Like they're going to lose their status and go back.
And so student status, the intent when providing someone the opportunity to come to the US and study is for them to come to the US and study. It is for them to get 1, 2, 3 internships during the year that are directly related to their major, to the reason, to the thing that they wanted to study, the area that they wanted to study. So if you have an athlete that is here, but let's say their major is political science, their major is business, their major is entrepreneurship, their major is biology. Their internships and their employment opportunities must be related to their major. So that makes it very, very difficult for an international athlete to take advantage of name, image, and likeness and being compensated for that, because the second they are compensated for that, the immigration service comes in and says, well, wait a minute, we let you in to go to class. We let you in to have the whole campus experience. We let you in to learn some things and then to get on the job training on those very specific things. We did not let you in to essentially have a second job as an athlete, and now to create income based on that. There are very, very specific rules about any international student working during the school year.
Yep.
And so that makes it very, very different or very difficult for our international athletes to take advantage of something that athletes prior to them have fought so hard to attain. And that is to have control and to benefit monetarily from their name, image, and likeness. So we haven't seen this, sort of explode yet. I mean, it's certainly bubbling and it's a work in progress.
That's right, bubbling.
But when it becomes this full-on process with, college athletes, when will the immigration service say, oh, we probably need to put some rules and some policies around that? And I think it will probably be a policy memo, because to change the law means several people need to sit in the room at the agency, draft the law, and then get that law approved. And so since I was a part of that process, I know what that process looks like. And that is not a quick process. That is absolutely 100% not a quick process. So I think to the extent possible, if the agency if this is even on their radar screen, frankly, I don't know that it is, because they have the backlogs, they've got COVID, they've got staffing issues. Like there's a lot on their plate, admittedly. So I don't know that this particular issue has made it to a priority of the agency yet. But when it does, several people are going to have to get in a room and hammer this out. And what will it look like? Right. How do we allow our international athletes to be on par with their US teammates,
Mm-hmm.
because that's really what we're looking at. We're going to be looking at people that are on, comparatively a small group of people that are all doing the same thing. They're all traveling to the same games. They're all being seen by the same potential sponsors. But they're currently, today, they're at a huge disadvantage because the immigration rules don't allow for them to take advantage of this. And so, truly, like any other agency, when something in the private sector changes, the government sometimes has to change as well and has to shift. So I will be I am super interested in this also, because I started my firm in Atlanta. And so, so there's always that pull back to, entertainment and whatnot. So it'll be really interesting to see how the agency pivots and changes to help the international students, because it's also, when you have happy international students who then stay in the US, get jobs, and then start to become entrepreneurs, and then they start creating jobs, they start talking favorably about their experience when they go back home.
Right.
And they'll go on a speaking circuit. They'll go and they'll have a conversation with people at their old high school, at their old university, in their neighborhood. They'll start speaking with other business owners. And so it creates goodwill, and it creates a funnel, if you will, of people that are even interested in coming here. But we've seen, so during the pandemic, we saw accommodations made for students. When the entire world moved online, students were concerned because they weren't sure if they were going to lose their student status, because you're technically not supposed to be taking a majority of your classes online. Because again, the purpose of allowing people coming in to be students is to have that in-person education opportunity, to sit in a classroom with your peers who are from the United States, who are from other countries, and to learn from one another. And so pre-COVID, if someone had said, oh, we have this great online program, and someone applied for a student visa, that would have been an automatic negative, right? Automatic
exactly.
denial, because of course, the officers are going to be like, well, if it's online, why can't you sit at home and do this?
Right, in your country, right?
We don't need to get you into the US to sit in an apartment to be online, right? So COVID has changed so many things, and to the agency's credit, they have done a great job, I think, with students and being flexible with them. Certainly, if you are applying for online classes today and you're a new student, that's a no-go, right? But they're allowing students to finish up their programs, and if their programs are still online, they have said, we're not gonna do anything negative with your current student status, and they certainly could have, according to the rules, they could have, but they didn't.
And I think it's because they understand they have to, like you said, pivot.
Yeah.
You have to pivot with what is going on in the world today.
Of course.
And I think this whole thing with athletes is that is huge today, which means they're going to have to pivot and figure out, okay, how can these athletes take advantage of this and still it not be considered employment? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Put some time frames on it. If you're, in school for, 20 hours or whatever, and you're only doing something, on the side on the weekends or something like that, I think that's good. You know what I'm saying? So it's they're going to have to pivot sooner than later for this, because, as us immigration attorneys, we're going to push the envelope.
Oh, absolutely. And
we're going to get in there and figure out.
Absolutely. I am curious to see what happens with the first international athlete who is majoring in sports management.
Yeah.
Who then says, this endorsement deal is 100% related to my major of sports management. I'm not violating my status at all. So I just, I'm curious. I'm curious to see how that shakes out, because you and I know it's coming.
Absolutely. It is coming. All right. So before we wrap up, I want to touch base on one more thing. And that is because this has been a huge topic conversation. It's been in the news. It's been, USCIS and things like that. The public charge rule.
Oof. Public charge rule.
Don't you just love rules and regulations and policies? And anywho. So explain to everyone, what is the public charge rule and what is the little bit or maybe big bit of change that's coming with this rule?
So the public charge analysis, I like to tell people, has been around since I started practicing over 20 years ago. So it is not new. It is not new at all. It got a lot of press during the previous White House administration because the previous White House administration, as we know, took an incredibly conservative and restrictive view on most things immigration.
We're talking about the Trump era, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So whether it was family-based deportation, asylum, refugee, business, very, very conservative and restrictive approach. And so part of that was really restricting and, to the point of creating an entirely new form, which is a mission in and of itself within the agency, created an entirely new form to dig into everyone's financial background associated with a case. And so basically said, if you don't meet these the current analysis and beyond. And so one of the things they essentially said was, if you are getting any public benefits, there's a high chance that your green card application is going to be denied. But the public charge analysis simply says, and they simply look at, can the individual applying for a green card financially support themselves while in the United States? We as immigration attorneys look at a poverty table and we say, okay, if there are going to be 3 individuals in your house, or there are going to be 4 individuals in your house, or there are going to be 2 individuals in your house, is there enough income flowing into this home, or are there enough assets whereby you can financially support yourself? That is really all the public charge rule looks at. Previous White House administration said, no, I want to see credit reports. I want to see bank account statements. We were like, whoa, this is a lot. Like, what is going on here? And really said, if you are getting any public assistance of any kind, green card is not looking good for you. So President Biden has said, okay. And one of the things he did very quickly, he said was, listen, I don't really agree with that sort of very, very restrictionist take on the public charge rule. So I'm gonna roll that back. And so he did very, very quickly in the beginning of his administration. But I told people, I was like, please do not think that President Biden is going to come in and wipe out the public charge analysis altogether, because he is not. He is not. So what recently came out was the Biden administration has said, if you are receiving benefits that, are not specifically sort of a cash benefit, then that will not impact your public charge analysis. So one of the benefits specifically listed was SNAP. People, children need to eat, right? People need to have housing. Mm-hmm. If there's a local organization out there, even if it's a federal organization that is providing these things, then I think the Biden administration's take on this is, don't we want them to be housed? Don't we want people to be able to eat and be nourished? Don't we want kids at school having had a first meal of the day? Don't we want them to have dinner at night so they can grow and fuel their brains and all these things? Now, if you are getting means tested benefits, which essentially are benefits that are provided to you based upon your income, those benefits are still fair game. And the rule essentially is, and usually this comes into play a lot with family-based immigration as opposed to employment-based immigration. Because my employment-based clients, they're all making well above the poverty limit, and they have an employer who has attested to the fact that they can pay the wage, right? So this usually comes into play with more with our family-based clients. But it essentially says, I'm sponsoring my spouse. I, as the U.S. citizen or the current green card holder, I promise to you, federal government, if my spouse applies for and receives benefits that are determined based upon income, I will pay you that money back. I am that confident that I'm going to keep this person in my life, and I'm going to, make sure that we are doing okay financially. That's how I describe the public charge rule to people. But it's not going away. I know we shouldn't say ever, but I don't think it's ever going away. I don't think the US is in the business of wanting to create a situation where people come in, but yet they can't then financially support themselves.
Right.
So that came out earlier this week, late last week, somewhere in there, but it's fairly new, where the Biden administration, and they released an entire rule, which honestly, I think when I looked, I was like 300 some odd pages. So I haven't actually sorted through the whole thing yet, but that was one of the things that specifically stuck out to me.
I opened it up and closed it.
I admit I kind of did. I've been on deadline for the past 2 weeks. I was like, yeah, I can't, I'm a skim it a little bit every night. I cannot sit down and digest this whole thing. And that's another thing, just going back to what you said in the very, very beginning, immigration is such a dynamic practice area. And we can have a rule that when you open up that PDF, it can be 300 pages. It can be 50 pages. And so when you're looking for someone to help you through this system, because it's complex, you want someone who is not trying to, do all things and be all things to everyone. That's when it gets really complicated and hard.
Because and that's the thing, it's very hard to keep up with all the changes. And so if you're trying to keep up with all the changes for all the aspects of immigration, it's just not even doable.
I don't handle deportation. I'm always like, Melanie, I have a call for somebody, they're in, girl, I need you to handle this, because I can't, I can't do that. I don't know that. That is a whole different language to me that you all speak when it comes to deportation defense. It's a whole different language which I don't understand.
I know it is. Okay. So, oh my gosh, it's like an hour flies by, especially when we're in the midst of, our thing. So, Carol, I want you to tell everyone how they can reach you.
Sure. So I am reachable on my Facebook page and my Instagram page, which my handles are at USA Visa Guru. I am also available. I know, right? I am also available on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is not so fun. So it's just my name, Carol Williams. And then I'm also available on YouTube under Williams Immigration. So
I love it. All right. Well, thank everyone so much for attending, for watching. Thank you so much for your support. Carol, you, of course, were an amazing guest. Thank you so much for all this information that you have told us. And I've learned so much. And I'm sure that the public has too. And everyone, this was Beyond the Border. Join us every third Saturday from 11 to 12 when we talk all things immigration. Until next time. Bye-bye.